There are moments when wisdom arrives quietly, without fanfare, yet lands with the weight of a life well lived. This is one of those moments. Imagine a woman who has seen struggle up close, who has stood at the intersection of fear and courage, who raised children while the world told her the odds were stacked against her. Her words are not loud, not polished by marketing teams, not engineered to go viral. They are simple, grounded, and powerful because they are true. This is the kind of message that does not rush you. It waits patiently, trusting that when you are ready, you will listen. She speaks from experience, not theory. Long before her son became a symbol of innovation and controversy. Before headlines and opinions, there was survival. There were years of financial strain, single motherhood, self-doubt, and the daily choice to keep going when quitting would have been easier and more socially acceptable. Her message does not glorify hardship, but it respects it. It acknowledges that life can be unfair and exhausting, and that strength is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward despite it. At the heart of her message is responsibility. Not the heavy, guilt-driven kind that drains joy, but a quiet understanding that your life is yours to shape. She reminds us that no one is coming to save us, and that this realization, though frightening at first, is actually liberating. When you stop waiting for permission, approval, or perfect conditions, something shifts inside you. You begin to act. You begin to take ownership of your choices, your failures, and your growth. She talks about resilience as a muscle built over time. It is not something you are born with or without. It grows when you face discomfort instead of avoiding it, when you learn to stand alone without becoming bitter, when you accept responsibility without losing compassion for yourself. She emphasizes that life does not become easier, but you become stronger, wiser, and more capable of handling whatever comes next. There is a tenderness in her words when she speaks about fear. She does not dismiss it or shame it. She acknowledges fear as a natural companion on any meaningful journey. Fear, she suggests, is often a sign that you are moving towards something that matters. The goal is not to eliminate fear, but to stop letting it control your decisions. Courage is not loud. Often it is a whisper that says, "Just take the next step." Her message challenges the modern obsession with instant success. She reminds us that real growth is slow, uneven, and often invisible from the outside. The years when nothing seems to be happening are often the years when everything is happening beneath the surface. Skills are forming, character is being tested, and values are being clarified. She urges patience, not as passive waiting, but as active perseverance. She speaks about self-belief, not as blind optimism, but as trust built through action. Confidence does not come from affirmations alone, it comes from keeping promises to yourself, from showing up even when motivation fades, from learning that you can survive disappointment and still try again. Over time, this quiet confidence becomes unshakable because it is rooted in experience, not fantasy. There is also a strong emphasis on independence. She encourages learning practical skills, managing finances wisely, and not relying on others to define your worth. Independence, in her view, is not about isolation but about stability. When you can stand on your own, relationships become choices rather than necessities, and generosity becomes genuine rather than transactional. Her perspective on failure is refreshing. She does not romanticize it, but she removes its sting. Failure, she says, is feedback. It is information. It tells you what does not work, what needs adjustment, and where your limits currently lie. Treating failure as a personal verdict is what breaks people, not failure itself. When you see it as part of the learning process, it loses its power to paralyze you. She reminds us that comparison is a thief of peace. Everyone's timeline is different, shaped by circumstances, choices, and unseen battles. Measuring your progress against someone else's highlights rarely tells the full story. She urges focusing on your own path, your own growth, and your own definition of success. Peace, she suggests, comes from alignment, not applause. One of the most powerful elements of her message is the way she speaks about age and timing. She challenges the idea that opportunities expire at a certain stage of life. Reinvention, she insists, is always possible. Growth does not belong to the young, it belongs to the curious and the courageous. Starting over is not a sign of failure but of self-respect. She also addresses the importance of kindness, especially toward yourself. Ambition without compassion leads to burnout and bitterness. Pushing yourself is necessary, but punishing yourself is not. She encourages acknowledging effort, celebrating small wins, and allowing rest without guilt. Sustainability, not intensity, is what carries you forward in the long run. Her words carry a subtle but firm reminder about values. Success without integrity is hollow. She speaks about doing what you believe is right, even when it is inconvenient or unpopular. Reputation, she suggests, is built quietly over time through consistent choices. It is not something you manage, it is something you earn. She touches on the role of adversity in shaping character. Comfort, while pleasant, rarely teaches resilience. Hard times reveal who you are and who you can become. They strip away illusions and force clarity. While no one seeks hardship, she believes that facing it with courage and dignity can transform it into a source of strength. Her message is not about chasing extraordinary lives, but about living ordinary lives extraordinarily well. Showing up. Doing your best. Taking care of your responsibilities. Treating people with respect. These simple actions, repeated daily, create a life of meaning and impact. Greatness, in her view, is not a single achievement but a pattern of choices. She also speaks to parents, mentors, and leaders, reminding them that example is more powerful than instruction. Children and teams learn more from what you do than what you say. Integrity, work ethic, and resilience are absorbed through observation. Being the person you hope others will become is the most effective form of leadership. There is a quiet spirituality in her message, though it is not tied to any doctrine. It is a belief in human potential, in growth through effort, and in the dignity of perseverance. She trusts that people are capable of more than they realize when they stop underestimating themselves and start acting with intention. Her message does not promise ease or happiness at every turn. It promises meaning. It promises self-respect. It promises the deep satisfaction that comes from knowing you did not give up on yourself. In a world obsessed with comfort and validation. This is a radical idea. She invites you to look at your life honestly. Where are you avoiding responsibility? Where are you waiting instead of acting? Where are you being harder on yourself than necessary? These questions are not meant to shame but to empower. Awareness is the first step toward change. She encourages gratitude, not as denial of hardship, but as recognition of strength. Being grateful for what you have while working for what you want creates balance. It keeps you grounded and motivated at the same time. Her message ultimately returns to choice. Every day presents choices, small and seemingly insignificant, that shape the direction of your life. Choosing discipline over comfort. Choosing honesty over convenience. Choosing effort over excuses. These choices compound over time, quietly creating outcomes that look like luck from the outside. She reminds us that no one's life is perfect, no matter how it appears. Everyone carries unseen struggles. Compassion, therefore, is not weakness but wisdom. Understanding this makes you kinder to others and gentler with yourself. Her words linger because they are not trying to impress you. They are trying to prepare you. Prepare you for responsibility, for resilience, for the long journey of becoming who you are capable of being. They do not flatter. They strengthen. This message matters because it cuts through noise. It does not promise shortcuts or hacks. It does not sell dreams without effort. It offers something far more valuable, a framework for living with dignity, courage, and purpose. If you listen closely, you realize that her message is not really about her son or fame or success. It is about you. About the life you are building, the choices you are making, and the potential you are either honoring or neglecting. It is a reminder that you are stronger than you think, more capable than you believe, and more responsible than you may want to admit, and perhaps that is why you cannot afford to miss it. Because this message does not just inspire for a moment. It challenges you to live differently. To stand taller. To take ownership. To keep going. It asks you to trust yourself, even when the path is unclear. To work hard, even when recognition is slow. To remain kind, even when the world is harsh. To grow, even when growth is uncomfortable. In the end, her message is simple but demanding. Life will not be easy. You will fall. You will doubt. You will struggle. But you can endure. You can learn. You can rise, and if you do, not because it is glamorous, but because it is right, you will look back one day with quiet pride, knowing that you did not waste your strength waiting for a life you were meant to build. That is the message. Steady, honest, unavoidable. And if you truly hear it, it may change the way you see yourself and the choices you make from this moment forward. She continues by reminding you that discipline is not punishment, but self-respect in action. Every time you choose to do what needs to be done instead of what feels easiest, you are voting for the person you want to become. These small, often boring choices are invisible to others, but they quietly build a foundation that can support big dreams. She emphasizes that motivation comes and goes, but discipline stays. It is the bridge between intention and reality. She speaks about money with unusual honesty, stripping away shame and fantasy. Financial independence, she says, is not about luxury, but about freedom. Freedom from panic. Freedom from bad decisions made out of desperation. She encourages learning how money works, living within your means, and respecting the effort it takes to earn. Wealth built slowly, with patience and integrity, lasts longer than money gained quickly without understanding. Her words challenge entitlement. The world does not owe you comfort, recognition, or success. What it offers instead is opportunity, often disguised as hard work and persistence. When you stop expecting fairness and start focusing on effort, you regain power. Complaining may feel justified, but it rarely changes outcomes. Action does. She also speaks about loneliness, especially the kind that comes from walking a path others do not understand. Growth can be isolating. Choosing discipline, ambition, or change often separates you from familiar comforts and people. She reassures that this loneliness is temporary and meaningful. It is the space where clarity forms and inner strength develops. Being alone for a season can prepare you for deeper connections later. There is a gentle warning in her message about distractions. She observes how easy it is to waste years chasing validation, scrolling endlessly, or staying busy without making progress. She encourages protecting your time as if it were your most valuable asset, because it is. Time once spent cannot be recovered, but time invested wisely multiplies. She talks about self-talk, the quiet voice that follows you everywhere. The way you speak to yourself, she says, shapes your courage and your limits. Harsh self-criticism does not create excellence, it creates fear. Honest encouragement, paired with accountability, builds resilience. Treat yourself as someone you are responsible for helping. Her message also highlights the importance of adaptability. Life will not follow your plans exactly. Dreams evolve. Circumstances change. Holding on to a single rigid vision can blind you to better possibilities. Flexibility is not weakness, it is intelligence. Knowing when to persist and when to pivot is a skill learned through experience and humility. She reflects on reputation and character, noting that how you behave when no one is watching matters most. Success magnifies who you already are. If integrity is missing early, it will not appear later. Building character quietly prepares you for visibility without losing yourself. She reminds you that progress is rarely dramatic. Most days feel ordinary. Some feel heavy. Very few feel triumphant. But consistency transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary over time. Trust the process even when it feels unrewarding. Especially then, she encourages surrounding yourself with people who value growth, honesty, and effort. Not those who constantly praise you, but those who challenge you to be better. Environment shapes behavior more than willpower alone. Choose wisely. Her words return again to courage. Not as fearlessness, but as endurance. Courage is staying when it would be easier to leave. It is trying again after disappointment. It is admitting mistakes and continuing forward without losing dignity. She speaks about success as service. True success, she suggests, is not measured only by what you accumulate, but by what you contribute. Helping others, sharing knowledge, and lifting people as you climb adds meaning to achievement and keeps ambition human. She also acknowledges exhaustion. Rest, she insists, is not quitting. It is maintenance. Ignoring your limits leads to breakdown, not strength. Listening to your body and mind allows you to return stronger and clearer. Her message gently dismantles the myth of overnight success. What looks sudden is usually the result of years of preparation hidden from public view. Comparing your beginning to someone else's middle creates unnecessary discouragement. Stay focused on your own next step. She reminds you that life is not a race against others, but a commitment to your own potential. Speed matters less than direction. Moving slowly in the right direction beats standing still or rushing toward the wrong one. As her message unfolds, it becomes clear that she is not offering advice meant to impress, but guidance meant to endure. These are principles that hold up under pressure. When motivation fades and excuses feel tempting, she leaves you with a quiet challenge: take yourself seriously. Not with arrogance, but with respect. Respect your time. Respect your abilities. Respect your responsibility to become more than your fears. This is not a message meant to comfort you where you are, but to strengthen you for where you are going. It asks you to rise, not dramatically, but daily. To choose effort. To choose growth. To choose ownership, and as you listen, you may realize that the most powerful part of her message is not what she says, but what she believes about you. That you are capable of more discipline, more resilience, and more courage than you have yet demonstrated. She trusts that if you stop waiting for the perfect moment and start using the moment you have, your life will begin to change in ways you cannot yet imagine. That is the continuation of her message. Quiet. Demanding. Honest. And still unfolding, as long as you are willing to listen and act. She goes deeper into the idea of patience, not as waiting passively for life to improve, but as the ability to remain steady when progress feels slow. Patience, she explains, is emotional maturity. It is trusting your effort even when results lag behind. Many people quit not because they are incapable, but because they underestimate how long meaningful change takes. Those who endure quietly often arrive unexpectedly far. She speaks about pride and ego with careful honesty. Ego wants recognition now. It wants to be seen, praised, validated. But ego also blinds, making learning difficult and correction painful. Humility, on the other hand, keeps you teachable. It allows you to grow without resentment and to accept feedback without collapsing. Strength paired with humility becomes unstoppable. Her message addresses uncertainty, that uncomfortable space where answers are unclear and direction feels shaky. She reminds you that uncertainty is not a signal to stop, but a sign that you are expanding beyond what you already know. Clarity often follows action, not the other way around. Move first. Learn as you go. She talks about identity, warning against tying your worth to a single role, achievement, or outcome. Jobs change. Circumstances shift. Success rises and falls. But character remains. When your identity is rooted in values rather than outcomes, setbacks lose their power to define you. There is a strong reminder about honesty, especially self-honesty. It is easy to deceive others, but the greatest cost comes from deceiving yourself. Excuses feel comforting in the moment, but they quietly steal potential. Truth, even when uncomfortable, is freeing. It gives you something solid to work with. She encourages learning continuously, not only formally, but through observation, reflection, and experience. Curiosity keeps the mind young and adaptable. The willingness to learn from anyone, regardless of status, opens doors that arrogance keeps closed. She speaks about courage in relationships. Setting boundaries. Saying no without guilt. Walking away when values are compromised. Approval is fleeting, but self-respect is lasting. Protecting your integrity may cost you comfort or popularity, but it preserves your peace. Her message touches on grief and disappointment, acknowledging losses that do not resolve neatly. Not everything broken can be fixed. Some things must be carried. Strength is not pretending pain does not exist, but learning how to live fully despite it. She reminds you that life rewards contribution more consistently than intention. Wanting to help is good. Talking about ideas is easy. Doing the work is what changes outcomes. Execution, done imperfectly but consistently, outperforms perfect plans left untouched. She challenges the fear of being ordinary. There is nothing small about consistency, responsibility, or reliability. The world runs on people who show up, keep promises, and do their work with care. Quiet excellence often matters more than loud brilliance. She speaks about legacy, not as fame, but as influence. how you treat people, what you model for those watching, the standards you live by when shortcuts are available. These are the things that last beyond achievement. She addresses regret, urging action while time remains. Regret is rarely about what you tried and failed at, it is about what you never attempted out of fear. Begin now, imperfectly, while you can still shape the outcome. She reminds you that confidence grows through competence. Do the work. Learn the skill. Practice until it becomes part of you. Real confidence is quiet because it does not need to announce itself. Her message circles back to responsibility one final time, not as burden, but as privilege. To be responsible for your life is to be trusted with it. Few things are more empowering than realizing that your choices matter. She invites you to stop asking whether something will work and start asking whether you are willing to commit long enough to find out. Persistence reveals answers that hesitation never will. As this part of her message settles, it becomes clear that transformation is not a single decision, but a daily one. Chosen again and again, especially on days when enthusiasm is absent, she leaves you standing at a quiet crossroads, not pressured, but aware. Aware that growth is available. Aware that excuses are familiar. Aware that the next step, however small, is yours to take, and in that awareness, something shifts. Not dramatically. Not instantly. But enough to change what you do next. That is how her message continues to work. Not by shouting, but by staying with you, nudging you forward long after the words have ended. In the final moments of her message, she does not raise her voice or offer dramatic promises. Instead, she slows down, as if she wants to make sure you truly understand what matters most. Life, she reminds you, is fragile and finite. Time is not something to be spent casually or postponed endlessly. Every day you delay becoming who you are capable of being is a day that cannot be reclaimed. She speaks about meaning, not as something you discover all at once, but as something you create through consistent effort and intention. Meaning is built when you take responsibility for your actions. When you contribute more than you consume, and when you align your behavior with your values even when no one is watching. She acknowledges that there will be moments when you feel tired of trying, tired of hoping, tired of pushing forward. In those moments, she advises returning to basics. Do the next right thing. Simplify. Focus on what you can control. Progress does not require heroics, it requires persistence. She reminds you that dignity matters. How you handle difficulty, rejection, and disappointment shapes the story you tell yourself about who you are. Choosing dignity does not mean suppressing emotion, it means refusing to let emotion destroy your direction. Her message also speaks to forgiveness. Forgiving others frees your energy. Forgiving yourself frees your future. Carrying guilt and resentment may feel justified, but it is heavy baggage for a long journey. Release what no longer serves the person you are becoming. She encourages gratitude as a daily practice, not because life is perfect, but because gratitude sharpens perspective. It reminds you of your strength, your progress, and the resources already available to you. Gratitude does not slow ambition, it steadies it. She speaks gently about hope, describing it not as naive optimism, but as disciplined belief. Hope is choosing to act as if effort matters, even when outcomes are uncertain. It is what keeps you moving forward when evidence is incomplete. She asks you to imagine looking back on your life years from now, not through the lens of public success, but through the quiet moments only you will remember. Did you try? Did you grow? Did you treat people well? Did you live honestly? These are the questions that remain when everything else fades. She makes it clear that you do not need to be extraordinary to live a meaningful life. You need to be sincere. You need to be responsible. You need to be willing to do the work required by your circumstances. Again and again, she returns one last time to courage, describing it as the willingness to keep going without guarantees. No promise of applause. No assurance of ease. Just the quiet confidence that effort itself has value. Her final reminder is simple and direct. Do not underestimate yourself. Do not wait for permission. Do not surrender your future to fear, comfort, or distraction. You are capable of carrying more responsibility than you think, and within that responsibility lies freedom. She leaves you not with answers, but with trust. Trust that you will figure things out as you move forward. Trust that you can adapt. Trust that your effort will compound, even when progress feels invisible. The message ends the same way it began, quietly, without demand. But it leaves behind a sense of weight and clarity. A sense that something important has been said, and that ignoring it would be costly, because this message was never meant to entertain you for a moment. It was meant to prepare you for a lifetime, and if you carry even a part of it with you, into your choices, your work, and your relationships, it will continue speaking long after these words have ended.